Hey guys, we just finished picking all the cherry tomatoes. They're super yummy, they're super healthy, and they're super delicious. And they're super easy to grow. So we just finished picking them. There's a whole bunch of them, but the bad thing is some of them are inside the plants. Like the leaves are like all on, like around them. So you have to dig into it.
Okay, so why did we why did we plant cherry tomatoes?
So, because they're really tiny and they're really easy to freeze dry.
Okay, so how are we going to freeze dry them?
We're going to cut them up and then we're going to lay them out and we'll freeze them and then we'll lay them out and put them in bags before we freeze them and then we'll freeze them. Then we'll put them and then we'll lay them out. We'll let them freeze again because it helps when we freeze them twice. It helps. It's easier to freeze dry them. But after the freeze dry, you have to let it defrost. Grandma, why do you have to let it defrost?
Okay, but you don't let this?
No. I meant, why do you have to let the freeze dryer defrost?
Because sometimes when you freeze them, some of the moisture accumulates into ice and it'll go around the drum of your freeze dryer. And so after we're done with the batch and we've got the product out and we've taken care of it, then we have to defrost the freeze dryer, don't we? Oh, look at her. She's going to eat all those. Can you pick this up and show us just how big it is? Oh my goodness. That's a lot of cherry tomatoes.
Heavy.
And we're out in our canning shed right now, and it's kind of a mess, but we had some different things in here, and we're kind of organizing, but we needed to get these picked. How come?
Because they were crowding up a whole bunch of our tomatoes.
Crowding out our tomatoes, but more than that, they were ready to be picked, weren't they?
Yeah. And
so like Kaylee said, we're going to take these, and we're going to wash them, and we're going to take the green off of them, if she'll stop eating them, and then we're going to cut them in half, put them flat on the freeze dryer tray, and then we are going to put them in our freezer so that they can freeze solid, and then when it's their turn, then we'll put them into the not the defroster, what? The freeze dryer.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So Kaylee's been such a good help today. She's helped for 2 or 3 days, and I'm so glad that I have her around. And so that's all about cherry tomatoes. Oh, if you're wondering what Kaylee did to her nose, Kaylee is a cheerleader for the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th grade football team. And after cheer practice the other night, she tripped and fell on the cement and wiped out her nose. Skinned her face, skinned her knee. But
no, my knee isn't skinned, it's bruised.
Yeah, it was not skinned,
and
it was bruised.
And my nose is skinned.
Yeah.
And it was bleeding today, so I
Yeah.
had to put a Band-Aid on it.
But it's okay. So we're going to get busy. We're going to get these all washed, and we're going to get them put ready and cut in half and put on the freeze dryer trays, and then we'll get off to the next thing. What do you think the next thing is we're going to do?
I think we're going to freeze dry these vegetables.
Yep, we have some fajita mix that we're going to freeze dry, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do you say?
Bye, guys. So we just we got our tomatoes washed. We're gonna do it. I am gonna take a tomato. I'm gonna take the green thing off, and I'm gonna put it in here. Then I'm gonna scoot it towards my grandma. She's gonna grab the tomato.
She's going to grab the tomato.
And she's gonna cut it.
She's going to cut it in half.
It's hard to do with one hand.
Which is hard to do with one hand. And then I'm going to bring it over here.
And you'll lay it down.
And lay it down on the freeze dryer tray.
And we'll show you what it looks like after.
All right, so we went ahead and we processed all those little cherry tomatoes, and I've got 4 trays of them full. Now, my freeze dryer is a medium harvest right, and that's what it takes, is just 4 trays at a time. And so I'm going to get these put in the freeze dryer. They shouldn't take very long because we heft them, and then we'll get back to you. I think I'm going to put some in the dehydrator and see how they work out that way too. So we'll get back to you when all these loads are done. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've got 2 trays of the halved cherry tomatoes, and I put them in my dehydrator. Now I am going to put on just 1 more tray. I'm not going to put any tomatoes on it, but then I'm going to put the top to this dehydrator. I've used this dehydrator for a long time. I think I got it at like Sportsman's Warehouse or something, and it's really good. It's an open country. And anyway, what I'll go ahead and do is set this for about a temperature 135 for about 6 hours, and then come check on them and take a look and see how they are. Now I use this a lot for apples, and I used to use it a lot for herbs before I got my freeze dryer. So this is what we're going to do. All right, so the batch of cherry tomatoes that I have in the freeze dryer will take somewhere between 24 and 48 hours to finish. And the reason they take so long is because they have a lot of surface area, and they also have a lot of liquid in them. And so it'll take anything with a great amount of liquid takes longer. Cherry tomatoes, regular tomatoes, watermelon, melons of any kind have a lot of liquid in them, and so it takes a lot longer to do those than, say, herbs that don't have very much liquid in them. And so those will be done somewhere from 24 to 48 hours. The dehydrated ones, I know I said that I'll probably set them at 135 for about 6 hours. I think what I'll do is set them at 135 for 9 hours and then come out and check them and find out what how they are and if they are ready to go or not. Now, I've never done cherry tomatoes in my dehydrator. Usually I do apples, and I do cinnamon sugar apples. And see, all we do is we take them, put them through a corer slicer peeler, and that gets them the perfect size, the perfect depth. And then I sprinkle them with sugar, cinnamon sugar, because that's the way my family likes them. Now, my family prefers dehydrated apples to freeze-dried apples, and the reason why is because of the texture. Now, these are more leathery, and they're more like jerky or fruit leather, where the ones in the freeze dryer, of course, have that kind of like styrofoam texture. I mean, they taste good, but they just have that different texture. My family just prefers these. And so that's what we're going to do. I usually, with the dehydrator, I have done some fruits. I've done apples, I've done plums, I've done peaches, I've done apricots, I've done a lot of herbs. But once I got my freeze dryer, I prefer the freeze-dried herbs than I do to the dehydrated ones, just because they seem to process faster, and they seem to process they're more like a store-bought, but with a much better flavor. And so I just prefer them in the freeze dryer. Like I said, my family prefers apples in the dehydrator. I haven't done plums or apricots in the freeze dryer, mostly because I don't have any plum or apricot trees that are producing yet. But I have done peaches, and we really like peaches out of the freeze dryer. So as soon as these 2 batches gets done, then we'll go ahead and we'll kind of have a little taste test, show you how we reconstitute both the freeze-dried and the dehydrated ones, show you how long it takes to do both, and we'll do a taste test and see if there's any difference in the texture or the taste. So we'll see you, it'll probably be 2 days. Take care. All right, so everything's done. The 4 trays that I put in the freeze dryer, and this is a medium-sized freeze dryer, it ended up with a 2-quart jar, a 1-quart jar, and a pint jar, plus this many. And those are the ones I'm going to rehydrate. And then I got 2 trays on my dehydrator. And I'll tell you what, now, you know, if you have a freeze dryer, that it takes a long time to freeze dry things. And so I put them in all at the same time, and those are done, and I've had to keep adding. I added another dry cycle because they weren't quite dry. And then with the dehydrated ones, I still don't think they're totally dehydrated, because to me, they're just, I don't know, they're kind of, they're sweet, but they're not completely dry. So I'm sure that they would have to have some more time to them. But they were good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water to them, and we'll see how long it takes them to reconstitute. All right, so I've gone ahead and I've put some of the dehydrated tomatoes in here, and I've put some of the freeze-dried ones in this little bowl here. And it was really funny because when I put them in, they were quite orange like these are, and I don't, this is not, see how orange they are? They're not really red. I mean, if I put them like this, they look like they're really red, but they're not. And they're pretty orange. But as I have been reconstituting them, they're turning more red all the time. And I've been doing this for about 20 seconds, maybe 30, 40 seconds, I don't know. But I think that these are about ready. And the thing is that they're never going to plump up. They're never going to get real juicy. Look at that. I've been out picking tomatoes and I've got dirty hands. But these are never going to get plump up, where these, you can tell that that is a was a tomato. You can tell that was a cherry tomato. It looks just like a cherry tomato. Where these look like, you can tell that they're probably a cherry tomato, but they are flat, and they're never going to, the skin is going to take on some moisture. They're not going to be crunchy or leathery tasting, but they're never going to look a lot like a tomato, where these will. They actually, look at that. See, they look just like a cherry tomato, half of a cherry tomato. So anyway, we're going to taste them and see how they taste. Okay, so it tastes like a cherry tomato, maybe a little bit sweet. And that's what happens with some dehydrated food. It takes on a little sweeter taste than whatever the thing is that you put in your dehydrator. And I'm going to taste one of these cherry tomatoes too. Oops. Well. Oh, and you know what? They are kind of, they probably have been sitting in the water too long, maybe. Because they're kind of, look at that. See, the skin's kind of coming off of them. They taste like a cherry tomato though. So there you have it. We've freeze-dried some cherry tomatoes, and we've dehydrated some cherry tomatoes, and I guess it just kind of depends on what you're going to be using them for. Now, I've got some friends that freeze-dry tomatoes all the time, but they freeze-dry them in really thin slices, and then they bring them out and they pulverize them in their food processor and have tomato powder. And I guess you can mix that up, and it kind of makes like a paste depending on how much material you put into it. I think that tomatoes, because there is so much juice in them, I'm not sure that dehydrating them, unless you're making powder, makes any sense at all. The thing about them is that I'm going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to be putting in the food dryer now that the season's on. I've done a lot of cabbage. I talked to you about that, I think. And I've got a whole bunch of that the fajita mix that I got in Salt Lake that I told you about. And I've got it over in the freezer. And this year I bought a brand new little tiny chest freezer, and it's just really cute. But I did it, and I've put it right next to the fridge in my canning shed and right next to the freeze dryer. So I can prepare the foods that I'm going to freeze dry. I can stick them on the trays and put them in that freezer. And then it cuts off that first amount of time that it takes to freeze the food. And so you can kind of jump start your freeze drying batches because they're already frozen. So I think that's a great thing for that little freezer. And also I got it so that if I happen to run up on, sometimes, you know, you'll run down to the store and they've got frozen food of some kind or other that's on really good prices, like 10 for $10. It used to be, you remember a time when you used to buy things that were 10 for $1? Not anymore. Now they're 10 for $10. But anyway, if you find some frozen foods, or even just produce, if you go down there and you find good produce, and you need to come home, prepare it, and freeze it so it won't go bad before you can put it in the freeze dryer. That's why I bought that little freezer also. But it's just a little tiny square chest freezer, and it's great. Just the fact that it's right next to my freeze dryer is awesome. So anyway, the freeze dryer right now is defrosting, and here in about 50 minutes it'll be all defrosted, and I'll clean it out, and then I'll put in those trays that have the fajita mix already frozen, and we'll get started with those. But I hope you guys are having a very, very productive time in your gardens, and I hope you've liked this little whatever it was video about tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, and what we've done with them. But we're going to start doing a few more of these when we start processing the tomatoes, which I've already taken some tomatoes to my mom, and she's made stewed tomatoes out of them. And I've got a lot more tomatoes that are going to be ready out here. And you know, in the past we have done things. We've made tomato basil soup, and we've made vegetable soup, and we've made enchilada sauce, and we've made barbecue sauce, and we've done all kinds of things. Even when the tomatoes turn green and it's cold outside and we've got all these green tomatoes, we have brought them in and made green tomato salsa verde, and it is really good. And we've made green enchilada sauce out of them, and it's so yummy. So anyway, I hope your garden is just really coming on good now, and we're going to be processing things. Oh, what I was going to say was, we're going to start doing some videos when we're making soup or when we're canning tomatoes. I'm going to be doing some things with some peppers, because I think I complained about the fact that my peppers in the pepper pot weren't doing very well. Well, today I went out to pick some peppers for a friend of mine, and that there are so many jalapenos, and there are so many Anaheims, and there's these big, long, skinny, big Jim peppers. I'm going to have all kinds of peppers, and we're going to have to find something to do with them. So if I've got tomatoes, and I've got peppers, and I bought a bunch of bags of onions when I was at Costco, because I was going to bring them home and process them. But I think now I was going to freeze dry them, because I love to have freeze-dried onions to put in soups or to cook with, or to do just whatever you would do with a regular onion. But you don't have to worry about it turning slimy or black in your pantry. So I thought those are great things to do. But anyway, I've got onions, and I've got peppers, and I've got tomatoes. Sounds to me like I'm going to be making salsa. What do you think? Anyway, we'll be doing some videos on those. So I hope you have a good night. It is, I don't know, 6:30. Guess it's time to go to bed. Nah, I don't go to bed till 2 in the morning. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon.